Sure. So I'm Greg Pilley, and I set up the new Stroud Brewery now almost 15 years ago. I moved to Stroud 18 years ago, literally just before the birth of my first daughter. Where are we going to live? And the reason we moved here actually was because of the community farm. And one day, whilst weeding carrots on a volunteer day with a sort of fellow beer enthusiast, we were talking about potentially having a brewery in Stroud, and suddenly that was the moment I was possessed. And 3 years later, we set up the brewery. And what I could say about that, we probably, if you're from Stroud, you've probably drunk this beer, and you've probably heard of this guy, Edwin Budding. He was an engineer from Stroud, famed for inventing the lawnmower, and we decided that was an apt name for our launching beer. But the sort of critical part of that story for us was that the site where we established our brewery is the site where those first lawnmowers were made. So this is ground zero for lawnmowers the world over. That's something that we've sort of taken to heart as well in our new messaging. So we've just launched our new brand, and it's about exporting our brewery beyond Gloucestershire and the area, but also exporting Stroud, which has got so many great stories, and Edwin Budding's one of them. And it's just an example how you can act very locally and have a global impact. This is one guy came up with one idea and revolutionised football and tennis globally. So that's very much part of our ethos. We've got to do and act locally, and we can make significant change.
Brilliant.
Lovely message.
Well, anyone who isn't watching the podcast right now, we are actually at the brewery, and it is massive. We are on a huge table, keeping social distancing.
Hi guys.
Hello. And it's incredibly impressive. And you are going through a bit of a rebrand as well at the moment.
Yeah.
So I guess we're expecting to see that nice sign in the background of your shop change at some point.
Yeah. So it's always difficult, but I think businesses have to keep evolving. Things change. Our logo has worked brilliantly for us, and significantly, the shield, the heraldry on it. That actually, the story behind that was a gift from the old Stroud Brewery to the town. They employed a heralder to create that image, and so we adopted that as part of our logo. And you'll see that that is again represented in our new look. So we're moving on, but still very much from Stroud, and as I say, trying to export all the things that are great. And Stroud is the centre of the universe. Everything happens here.
Because I've only recently started coming over here and to do all this sort of thing. Yes, it is very much the centre of. It's kind of like the hidden kind of centre of Gloucestershire, and it's like humbly in the background, kind of making things happen and making things work, and it's actually really impressive. Especially seeing what all the other makers as well are doing around here.
Exactly. I mean, Stroud, historically, it made its wealth, it made its fortune out of wool. So sheep on the hillsides, and then it had these 5 rivers converging at Stroud, and they powered the mills and sort of created that wealth. Of course, as the wool industry declined, it left all the engineers, all the makers, all the innovators that came with that, with resources, power and buildings. And I think that legacy has stayed on. And so Stroud is full of, engineers and innovators, and for, a lot of new thinking. And we see some really interesting, great things coming out of Stroud. And when you go into all the little mill sites, it's amazing what businesses you come across. So, you've probably heard of Snow Business, who makes snow for big Hollywood films.
Yeah,
and round the corner, there's a guy who makes handmade wooden propellers for traditional aircraft. There's just a range
Rupert's
of
great,
stuff.
isn't he?
Yes, Rupert, exactly.
We sell some of his wooden gliders and pens in the shop. They're really interesting. He's something we should speak to, definitely.
Yeah,
you reckon?
brilliant.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Very interesting.
So he makes the propellers, but then byproducts, things like pencils and things out of the timbers that he uses, and laminates.
Do you have those in the shop?
We do.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
So
Let's jump on that. Yes, please.
So Stroud has got all sorts of interesting things, and it's a great place to live as well.